Jae-young is pretty. I fucking love...
Jae-young is vile because he has an earring.
Well, also that.
There's an actual, I don't know what page it is, but it shows a close-up of the earring.
Page
and it has
25.
On page 25. And it has vile written in red and black. It looks like the devil himself. Hello, this is Reno, Dino, Valentino, and Cecilia Rose, and we're once again bringing you comic digestion.
Dissection.
Did I say digestion?
You sure did. I think we're not changing the name of this podcast. It's too soon.
We digest comics so you don't have to. Yeah, that's what we should do. Actually, we read them so you don't have to.
It's the backup name. No, you have to read this one.
And then we read them so you don't have to, but then when you hear us talk about them, you're so into them, you go out and get them in a perfect world.
Yeah.
That would be great. Cecilia, you seem to be pretty about whatever this is, so...
This is one of my most favorite things on the internet.
Do the introduction. Tell us why we're here.
Today, we're going to talk about Semantic Error, a manhwa based on a Korean novel with the same name by the author Geo Suri. I'm so sorry, I only speak English, and I do that badly. This manhwa is illustrated by Angie. It also inspired a K-drama and a short animation, and I have consumed all of that content. Because my favorite thing in the world is being able to consume the same piece of media in many different ways. I live for that shit. I also got a tattoo from this comic.
Yeah, I know. I've seen it.
My baby.
If you're showing it to the audience,
you can't see
I got some bad news.
Hey, look, ask if you really are interested. Ask on Twitter, and I'll share a picture. It's a really good tattoo.
That's a great idea.
It's a really good.
Hey, everybody! Ask for pictures of my body. I'm happy to show
Only
it off.
of the tattoo. Although honestly, I've been going to the gym. I am a little proud of myself.
Congrats. I haven't. Don't ask for any pictures of me.
I actually subscribed to Viki, which is a K-drama exclusive thing, just to watch the live action
just for this
version of this show.
Now, as someone who also will consume lots of different medias discussing the same subject, do you get upset, frustrated with like the differentials between, I won't even say the one that came first, between the one that you experienced first and then all the other ones that came after? Like, you know, your typical neckbeard that's like, oh my god, that's not how it went in the comic, or
I think it kind of depends on what, like, just like I don't hate spoilers, because if the emotional impact is good, I'm going to feel the same about it anyways.
Right.
Part of the reason why I even went to watch the live action version is because this isn't finished on the manhwa version of it. So,
gotcha.
like, all that I don't know how the story's going to end yet, according to this. Right. And I could probably find the actual novel, but I don't speak Korean, and, you know...
Hasn't been translated yet, to the best of your knowledge? Yeah.
So part of the reason why I watched it was to see how it ended, because I don't do well just waiting for shit.
Patience, yes.
Not my virtue. Not the one I have a lot of. So... And as someone who grew up... I grew up watching and reading the Harry Potter. I'm used to adaptation disappointment. Because there are definitely parts, fuck J.K. Rowling, side note real quick, but there are definitely parts where it's like, this is better in the book, or this is better in whatever.
Yeah.
But I also try to take the thing that I'm consuming just as, like, this version of it. I don't know, I don't think I'd read fan fiction if I got super attached to, like...
Yeah, those fanfickers, as I call them. Different breed, them.
Well, I mean, there are things where it's like, I like this better this way, but it doesn't really, like, stop my enjoyment.
Okay. Does it usually skew, though, towards the things you experienced first, or are you a better person than me? Because for me, however I get, like, if something blows my mind, or I really enjoy it, however I get that first hit of dopamine... That's what sticks with me. Like, my favorite doctor is Eccleston, because he's the first one I experienced. Followed by Tennant, because he has dreamy eyes. But coincidentally, also the second one I experienced. So, yeah, and I'm like that with most things I consume. Like,
I don't know, nostalgia, I think if it's something like nostalgia can definitely have an impact, because like Sailor Moon, the original 90s anime, despite its many varied faults, is still probably my favorite version of Sailor Moon.
Right.
But
there's been many others.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
I didn't read the complete manga until a couple years ago. Like, yeah. But the I think some of it kind of depends, because I consumed so much of the Semantic Error content, like, kind of together. Right. Like, I've read the fanfics, I watched the animation, I watched the live action, I've been reading the manhwa, which, again, isn't even finished yet.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, it's kind of all
kind of at the same time-ish.
Yeah, so it's not, I don't have a super hard preference. Some things, like, I like the animation in the manhwa the best, but that's mainly because I like the way people look drawn better than I like the way people look in real life.
Now, you keep using the term manhwa.
Yes.
What does that mean exactly?
So manhwa...
Help our uninitiated.
Well, it's basically manga, but from a different place. So, like, manhwa is Korean versions of manga.
Mm-hmm. So Korean comics.
Basically.
Yeah.
There's a version that's also, like, a Chinese, but I can never remember...
Shanhua.
What that word is, off the top
I
of
no
my
idea.
head.
Yeah.
But they all have basically it's just a regional based off of where
it's
they
manga,
come
and
from.
they take out one letter and they change it.
They just change the ending of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I only know a little bit from what I've seen on the internet, but some people get really like into specific versions of.
Well, I mean, you never consider it because you. And I say you, I mean the universal you, I don't mean the you. But people don't think about how weird it is to be manga-centric. Like, oh, I'm really into animation, but only from this little island country. Like, that's the only animation that I have any respect for. Like, I don't like American blah, Canadian blah. Like, it's an odd... It's odd. And... taking your entertainment from just one country is strange. But there are many people that do that and value it higher because it's Korean or Japanese or, I don't know, maybe there's some Australians
out there. It reeks of nationalism, which is not something I have ever understood.
It's okay if it's not your nation, though. If it's not your nation, you're allowed, right? Like,
I just... Here's the thing. I like the content because I like the content.
Right.
Where it comes from is kind of immaterial.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I like the art, or if I like the story, because I probably won't read it if I don't like the art.
Yeah.
But if I like the art and the story, then wherever it comes from is immaterial to me. Like,
but that's different than from when I was growing up, and we had to fight the dinosaurs to get to the computer. The only thing, when you had dial-up, and you couldn't make a phone call and use the internet. That was ridiculous. Even the thought of it's ridiculous.
Man, when I watched the Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel movie, whichever one, I forget what it's called now, and they actually had the dial-up sound from I had a flashback. I have never in my life experienced an honest to God full-on flashback until that moment when the dial-up noise started playing. I was like, oh, that hurts. That's rude.
Oh, man. I remember, like, when I would get off the internet, the phone would always immediately ring, and it would be some relative who would yell at my mom about how they've been trying to get through for, like, 6 hours. And, like, yeah.
Whenever I was younger, I used to piss my mom off a lot because I would leave the phone off the hook, and the phone would die. Yeah. And then I'd be able to stay on the internet because she couldn't call in and bump me off.
Clever.
Yes.
Clever.
Those cordless phones were
they were a dual-edged sword. It was nice to not have to stand next to a wall to talk.
Yes.
But when that phone died,
you were done.
And you went back. When you felt like you were going even further back in time, you're like, oh, now I have to use the one that has a cord. I'm in hell. Anyway, what I was actually saying, before we went down that weird phone road, was that Japanese manga, in anime, the reason it hit so hard was because it was from another country. And we didn't have all the countries. Like,
That's true.
It was the first thing to get here from somewhere else, unless you count Canada, which I don't. And so it was the first thing that felt so unique and different. Like, you'd never seen anything like it. Yeah, you'd never seen anything like it. Like, it was an entirely different culture from as far away as you could possibly get. Yeah. On the map.
It's just true.
Yeah.
And even now, my appreciation, I'm definitely more of an art snob because of having such an easy access to, because I will straight up, like, the story can be decent, but if the art's terrible, I have such a hard time getting into it, because I have been spoiled by, like Sailor Moon and, like, pretty pastel backgrounds that, like, you know, like, the art has to be good, or I'm so done with this. Like, I can't get into One Punch Man because I do not like the way they draw the main character.
Oh, yeah, he's really boring.
The story seems funny. Like, I enjoy this premise. I love this. And then I try to watch it, and I'm like, what is wrong with his face? Yeah. But I couldn't get into things like Adventure Time, or
I had trouble with Adventure Time, and that's one I really never watched Gumball. But Adventure Time, everyone tells me to watch, and I'm gonna suck it up eventually. But also Seven Deadly Sins on Netflix. That was one everyone got really into, and the art style just
can't do it.
Didn't sit right with me.
Which is actually, like, so back to the Semantic Error.
Oh wait, we're going to talk about that?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, we are.
We probably should start. No, I apologize for all the tangents, but yes, we should start about the thing.
The animated version of Semantic Error, it's very short. They're on YouTube, and there's only like 4 or 5 episodes, and I think they're like 10 minutes. So it's not like a page by page reenaction. But the animated version of Semantic Error has one of my favorite art styles for animated versions of things. Like, it's just so pretty.
Yeah.
But Semantic Error was manhwa I originally found on the app Manta. It's a boy love yaoi manhwa. It has a 2-volume adaptation on Amazon, and we're going to cover
Volume
1 today. Yes. But it has 3 seasons on Manta, and which means I will be making Reno read a lot more of these.
There will be at least 3 episodes of this, if not 4.
I mean, there's going to be 3 seasons on Manta, so there's up to the possibility of 6 episodes, because I'm a completionist, and once we've started, we might as well finish.
That's true. But just remember, I have that He-Man omnibus, so what's good for the gander?
Well, and part of the reason why I picked this one, like I've told you before, is that as far as...
It's softcore.
As far as yaoi goes, there's no dicks in this one, so, like, it's actually...
Which I find offensive that you thought I would find dicks offensive. I mean, if they're bigger than mine, I would find them offensive. But otherwise, I'm very secure.
Well, then trust me, we will get there eventually, because there are a lot of manhwas I like with dicks.
Getting there eventually beats a measuring contest.
Yes, it does.
But yes, right. No dicks in this one.
So we're gonna be using the Amazon Kindle version. Eventually, there will be English. I've seen them on fucking TikTok. There will be English real life versions, which I will also buy.
Paper that you can touch and turn.
Yes.
I will be happy for that, because this being our first outing into something that was purely digital, like, man, I realize I'm old, and this is speaking to my age, but I miss page turning, man. And it's also, you get a different presentation, because when you make a comic, you have a page, and you know the panels that are going to be on that page. And, like, when it's digital, sometimes it's just paneled. Like, each page is a panel. And sometimes you get the page idea. But it feels weird to me because I'm old. It feels weird. Like,
I honestly read so
comics.
much. Yeah, you're old. Because I've like hop in between these things so much that, in all honesty, and part of the reason why this ended up having to be a 2-parter is because I have no concept of how long this actually is.
Yeah.
Like, I
don't either. I tried to, like, page it out as if it was a normal comic, and my brain... What the point I was trying to make just a minute ago, my brain couldn't do it. I was like, this is not a normal comic page. How much of this equals normal comic page?
Spatial awareness doesn't work with internet.
It would be like if we were trying to do a newspaper strip, and I was trying to figure out how many episodes of Peanuts equal out like a graphic novel.
Yeah,
how do you do that?
But
yes.
So the starting panels or whatever, the start of it, you get the first main character that you're gonna have, who is Song-woo.
I love Song-woo.
Song-woo is hilarious. So he's given a group presentation, and he ended up having to give it by himself because he did it all by himself. Which is hilarious because it's fucking ugly. He doesn't know what he's doing with this presentation. But he did all the work, and he tells his professor on the other students in his class who didn't do any of the work. And in this particular instance, I am Song-woo because fucking group projects were always the bane of my existence.
My very first note for this is Song-woo is all of our spirit animals when we do group projects. Like the
yes,
and by 100%. Us I mean the nerds that listen to this podcast,
yes,
and the two nerds that host it.
Yes, as someone who I fucking hated group projects because they had to be done right and they had to be done a certain way, and then like no one else wants to do the fucking work.
No,
it is so infuriating.
Yeah,
but I do. Song-woo is also. It shows very quickly how inflexible he is. He expects certain. He's very strict. He's very inflexible. I thought.
And he also does not seem to care the slightest about
reasons why
what anyone else thinks about. Like he doesn't seem to be worried. Like, oh, what if the other people in the team don't like me? Like that never even crosses his mind.
He is uninterested in
that
other people, which actually I feel like is probably his biggest character flaw. Like he is very. It is good, I think, to have morals and stick by them or whatever, but he is very like kind of self-centered.
Yeah, like, and fascist.
Yeah,
he's a little fascist. And he does he hates earrings. Like I don't know if we got there yet, but man hates it. Like he's really Nazi in his devotion to
he's very
rigid.
Not Nazi. That's the word.
Not Nazi, rigid. He's very rigid.
But yeah, and I love the chibis in this. On like the page 16.
Yeah,
the chibis are just so cute, like little baby.
Yes, chibi being a small, cute version of a normally not small or I wouldn't say not normally cute, but
he's cute. He's
like
cute.
A small version with a large head is a chibi version of it. And you see them in lots in Asian animation and comics.
So he goes on about his day after he rats everybody out to his professor.
With no worries.
Well, he gets a small worry because he works in a computer cafe or whatever. Mm-hmm. And one of the kids from his college comes in and is like, yeah, the other student's going to kill somebody. So he kind of goes a little crazy for half a second. And then he's like, he didn't do anything wrong. Yeah. He's very good at rationalizing his own actions.
Well, he makes that common mistake of thinking everyone prioritizes or thinks the way he does. Mm-hmm. And he's like, they'll understand. Like, they'll understand because who wouldn't do what I did in the situation? Which no one else would do what he did in the situation.
No.
I mean, not a lot of people. Yeah.
No. So, he is trying to make a video game. And the person who was going to make the game with ended up having to back out. And she mentioned someone named Jae-young, who is our other lead for this particular comic. Yeah. But who's also a really good artist. So, we get our first mention of Jae-young, who we have not met yet. They set up a meeting, which Jae-young is late to.
Yeah. And his first thought, what a scumbag. Like, when someone's late, you can be like, man, I feel like they don't appreciate my time, or whatever. But, like, jumping straight to what a scumbag is...
Well, we've already established he's rigid and unforgiving.
Man, but it keeps surprising me. I keep thinking he's reached his height, and he has not. Speaking of height...
The thing that I don't fully understand is that Is Jae-young like a popular name? Because I feel like it does also establish that he doesn't remember names. So maybe it's just like he doesn't.
I think it's more. Now, I don't know. I have no idea how popular that name is, but I think it's more about him just not valuing people enough to know their names. Like, they don't mean anything to him.
It is not. It is in one ear and out the other. Like, it's straight just, oh, we don't need that information. Let's delete it.
Yeah.
Jae-young is pretty. I fucking love...
Jae-young is vile because he has an earring.
Well, also that.
There's an actual, I don't know what page it is, but it shows a close-up of the earring.
Page
and it has
25.
On page 25. And it has vile written in red and black. It looks like the devil himself.
You know what I will give the whatever computer version of comics?
Okay, yeah.
Is that at least we can find the page numbers.
It's true. Graphic
25.
novels that don't put page numbers in make me want to scream.
All right, but yes, Jae-young is so pretty and also late, and
yeah, we should also mention there's a lot of contrast between Sang-woo and Jae-young.
Yes.
Jae-young is wide, looks like a football quarterback,
Yes.
and tall. Sang-woo is like reed thin and short.
Yep. He's a very stereotypical computer boy looking type.
Yeah, absolutely. They're you've got your odd couple thing blooming here.
Yes, this is so the trope for this particular manhwa is enemies to lovers, which I am trash for. I am complete garbage for enemies to lovers.
Yeah.
Entirely too much Jerry fan fiction when I was growing up, but I love that dynamic. So that is what this is. They're very different people. Jae-young is the designer for that Sang-woo was told to meet.
Excuse me.
And so he looks over the file. They have a little chat, and Jae-young is like, "This is boring and ugly, and I don't know if you're worth me putting my time into." Like, he didn't just show up to a meeting late.
At that point, I wrote, "These two dicks deserve each other." Like, these two horrible people that hopefully will live horribly together.
Yes.
Just to protect every other person that either of them could date. Every other man and woman that either of them could date. Let's just keep them safe from everyone else by shipping them together.
Look, I love this dynamic. I love this whole setup. Yeah, so he just gives Sang-woo shit.
A game should be fun, shouldn't it?
Yeah, he gives this design is trash, the concept is trash. I don't understand what you think you're doing here.
Yeah. Which is also, and I don't know if this is because he knows who Sang-woo is, but that is not how you approach someone who's working on a passion project of theirs. And I would expect Sang-woo to do that if the roles were reversed, but I didn't think that this guy was so what's the word I'm looking for? Curt, I guess.
I think the part of it is that just that Jae-young, you learn later too, that he is actually very experienced with design.
Yeah.
So he can just look at something and be like...
He's from a higher level of talent.
He doesn't have any mobile game development, but he does have web development experience. And he's won awards and shit for his design and his ability
He's
to
kind of a born winner.
Yeah, well, yes, he is.
Which might be why I sided with Sang-woo in this. And in most of these things, even though neither of them really should be sided with.
So, yeah, he has a good portfolio. Sang-woo is immediately in love with his designs.
Yeah.
He straight up just sketches something out really awesome for him. Sang-woo sets back down because he was getting ready to leave. He was like, "You don't have the abilities," and then Jae-young's like, "Yeah, I do. Here you go."
Yeah.
So he starts asking him if he's going to be able to spend the time necessary for all this stuff.
Commitment, man.
Yeah. And then they go to exchange phone numbers. And Jae-young's like, "Looks like you already have my number." And he calls himself, and he's in Sang-woo's phone as free rider number 3, and he's got Sang-woo in his phone as motherfucker. Which I thought was fucking hilarious. And
Yeah.
this part where he runs.
I
always
laugh.
makes me
I do not often laugh out loud while reading to myself, but when he just fucking Sang-woo just tears ass out of there, like just fucking, like immediately realizes who he is, what's happened, and he just fucking books it. And I was like, well, there we go.
Yep. He just straight up like it makes me giggle. So he unblocks Jae-young and gets all the text messages Jae-young has sent him, which are threatening vaguely and straight up name calling and just being nasty.
Yeah, I got really angry at Jae-young when he said, "You owe me a text." I'm like, "Oh, son, I don't owe you shit. Like, I owe you nothing." Like, when people think that I owe them a text, it infuriates me. And I'm sure there are situations where I do owe people text. But for you,
don't tell me.
Don't tell me I owe you a text. Especially now if I already don't like you. That's not going to end well for anyone.
Well, I feel like Jae-young was just trying to talk to him, but he did also, like, Jae-young failed. He couldn't graduate because Sang-woo told on him.
Oh, yeah,
like,
we didn't really
establish,
elaborate that part.
Yeah.
This was not... He wasn't one of his project.
Yeah, Jae-young was...
He was also in the project.
He was in the project.
Okay, but
he
it came out...
just needed that credit.
Right.
And he would have graduated. But because Sang-woo wouldn't let him have that credit, and he straight up told the professor, like, hey, he hasn't been coming to class at all. Right. I don't know what...
And he didn't help with this project.
Yeah, he's been paying people to come for him, and like... So yeah, because Sang-woo told on him, Jae-young couldn't graduate, which... really fucked up Jae-young because he had like a whole scholarship or like a whole internship or some shit. Like he had plans set on his graduation, and it's his own fucking fault that he didn't graduate. Don't misunderstand me, but that class was supposed to be an easy credit or whatever, and Sang-woo made sure he didn't get that easy credit.
Right.
So it is kind of Sang-woo's fault that he didn't graduate. It is also kind of Jae-young's fault that he didn't graduate. Like, you made choices,
He
man.
did none of the work and was upset that he got none of the credit.
Yeah.
And it was hard for me to feel sorry for him because, again, he is a guy who's seemingly has been handed everything in his whole life. He's like, I don't understand why everyone doesn't like me. I don't understand why I don't get A's in everything without showing up. Like...
He is entitled a little bit. I'm not going to argue with that. A lot of it. Look, here's the thing. I love Jae-young.
Yeah. Yeah.
Personality-wise, I'm more like Sang-woo. Like, I'm much more rigid, and I also probably would have told if I went to class and did all the work and someone else was I would have
told if, like, like, if the teacher's like, wait, why do you want to do this alone? Why are the other three not helping? I'd be like, motherfucker, they helped the whole time. One of them hadn't even been going to... I could see myself spitting that out in a fit of, like, frustration that my teacher isn't just accepting this and moving the fuck on.
Yeah.
I'm like, your teacher could have just let this drop, but he needled me, and so, yes, I told him you were a lazy
I do
bum.
like Jae-young's character. I like how, like, carefree he is with shit. Which is also a detriment and why he failed that class. Yeah. Like, he is... But I do like him. Like, I enjoy his character.
Yeah.
So, Jae-young... Basically, Sang-woo never replies to any of his texts. Jae-young wants to try to talk to him again. I guess about this project. And maybe just... Well, you end up finding out what he wants.
Yeah.
So, Jae-young goes to the cafe that Sang-woo works at. I fucking love Jae-young in glasses. Like...
Yeah.
He's so pretty.
He needs them to read. Ugh. He needs glasses for his work.
So anyways, Jae-young gets Sang-woo to get him some food at the cafe. And he tells Sang-woo that it was rude of him to ignore his texts. And he calls himself Hayoung, which ends up being a thing later. And Sang-woo's like, I don't have a brother. Go away.
And, brother.
Jae-young wants Sang-woo to apologize for him failing. He kind of oversteps here.
Yeah.
But he does think that working on the game would be kind of fun. Like, and he's like, we can make up. And Sang-woo's like, how can we make up for a fight we never had? Like,
Yeah.
you weren't worth my time. I'm
Yeah.
not interested in working with you.
Burn.
Yeah. But yeah, Jae-young is like, screw the grade, it's too late to appeal anyway. And Sungwoo's like, well, then why are you harassing me? It's like, when have I ever harassed you? He wants to work on the project. He's really hung up on not being texted back. I'll give you that. He is very hung up. This page right here, this little, on page 56.
Yeah.
Where this was a lock screen of mine for a hot minute.
Where are your fucking manners?
Yeah, where are your fucking manners? Which, honestly, I think maybe is a cultural thing. It might just be like a...
Not texting back is a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sungwoo is very intent on calling the fucking cops, though.
Yeah.
But...
Which I don't support. Let me be clear. Sangwoo, come on, man. Fight your own battles here.
Nah, we don't call the police.
In his defense, he thinks he's got a stalker on his hands. And if not now, as it goes on, he will think he has a stalker on his hands. And if there is ever a time to call the cops, it might be when you're being stalked by a dude who's twice as big as you are.
He's not twice as big.
He's twice as wide.
Well, that's because he's the top.
He's too.
And I know you don't recognize yet.
I recognize. I understand tops and bottoms. I've accidentally clicked on things, but that doesn't. He's twice as wide and a head and a half taller.
He's bigger than Sungwoo.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is where you find out he had to cancel his study abroad because of the 2 credits that this class would have given him. And Sungwoo...
Unbelievable. Scumbag. You like
Sungwoo
scumbag.
So rigid. I love it. But yeah.
Yeah.
Sungwoo gets upset because it says, why would anyone go to class if they could just graduate by faking attendance? He is very... He has a strong case. I don't know. I feel like Jae-young should have been allowed to graduate, but also he's not wrong.
Yeah.
Sungwoo's not wrong about... Jae-young didn't do the work. He didn't do any of the shit he was supposed to do.
True. Also, with those words floating, it kind of felt like it could have been describing either one of them. Unbelievable. Scumbag. I'm like, yeah, that's... Yeah, one or both of you.
Jae-young wants him to say, I'm sorry you lost your opportunity to study abroad because of me. And Sungwoo's like, only if you get 2 things straight. 1, it's not my fault you couldn't graduate. And 2, it's because of your low attendance and your low grades. So, and I'm not really sorry.
Good apology. I have made that exact apology. It's weird. It doesn't go over as well as you'd think it would.
So Jae-young is like, if we fix those, really, it's you lost your opportunity to study abroad.
If we fix the... Man, Sangwoo, like... It's kind of amazing they don't come to blows here.
Yeah. It is. It's fucking funny. I enjoy that
Because
scene.
even if he's right, Jae-young don't want to hear that right now.
No.
But he forced this confrontation. He forced this meeting. So
he was gonna have.
Can't be mad about what you get when you know. When
Sungwoo was just gonna forget he existed.
Yeah,
like, that
would
it.
have been better for everyone.
Look, it would not have been better for me as someone who enjoys this manhwa.
Yeah, fair.
All right. So Jae-young is basically like, hey, let's never meet again. I don't know if I can ever see you again. Like, just go away. So Sungwoo's amenable to that. Like, he leaves.
I mean, he's whistling as he walks off.
Yeah, he's fine.
He's already forgotten about him.
And then we meet, and it switches to a nice young lady who dropped all of her books. And Sungwoo is just going to walk by.
Yeah,
like,
he
this
is.
boy is not at all...
chivalrous?
No. But she asks him for help, and he evaluates the cost of the chore versus the cost of the reward.
The favor payout equation, I call it, and I love it.
So she offers to buy him lunch at the cafeteria, which he is only like $3, and he's like, "Yeah, all right, fine, I'll carry your box."
That's worth a
for
little book, little carries, yeah.
But he gets upset because the box is heavier than it looked.
Yeah, he's like, I got the short end of this.
And so he's like, all right, just give me a meal voucher and I'll go about my day. And she's like, no, I'll take you to a restaurant.
Nice, yeah. I love the idea, though, that he's just like, I don't actually want to eat with you. I would like you to provide me with a... Yeah, there's a... I don't know, did you ever used to watch Scrubs?
Yes, I did. There's
an episode where I don't even remember any of the premise except like JD goes up to Dr. Cox and he's like, "Oh, I'd like to take you out. No, I'd like to buy you dinner for your birthday." And Dr. Cox is like, "Oh my God, that's so nice. Oh, yes, absolutely." And JD's like, "Okay, well, I get off at 5. He's like, "Oh, you meant with you. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. Oh no, no, no." That's what happened here. She was like, "We're going out to eat." He's like, "How about I just take that voucher?"
I don't need to talk to you to have a meal. Just give me food. Honestly, Sung-woo is me in most situations. Like, do I have to talk to you for this? Because if I have to talk to you for this, it's not worth it anymore.
Yeah, the price has become too steep. It's become too steep.
See, I was okay with this when I thought it was a meal voucher. It's a cafeteria. Now we have to hang out. I didn't want to hang out.
Yeah.
But Sung-woo is very, like, uninterested. So they go to a restaurant, and they get the student discount or whatever, and Sung-woo's upset because it's expensive.
It's just weird because he's not paying, but now he thinks the favor payout equation's going too far in the other direction.
Yep.
He's like, this is too expensive for the boxes that I carried. So at least he's not just a greedy. Like he's
not greedy, but he has like
the scale for all relationships of what can be got versus what should be given. And he's like, if I take this expensive meal, then the scales won't be perfectly stable.
Well, it's a funny, like, there's a joke that's basically like this is the relationship of someone with ADHD and someone with, like, that's on the autism spectrum. Okay. And I think it's funny because that's kind of what this is. Like, a lot of Sung-woo's personality is so rigid and, like, he just doesn't think about things in like a normal way.
Yes. If I was a psychiatrist, I would think he might be on the spectrum somewhere.
Yes. So he asks her about the prices of the food, and she's like, "It's okay, I'll just starve at the end of the month." He's like, "That doesn't make any sense."
That doesn't work out.
And so Jae-young is the waiter at this restaurant.
Of course he is.
Of course he is. You can't.
Of course he is.
He's so pretty. I love him in this scene. Yeah. So they order, and he's like, he doesn't remember Jae-young at all. Like, I don't know, like, he's just like,
why would he?
He looks kind of familiar. Have I met him before?
Also, to be fair, he's now dressed like in slacks and a nice button-up shirt. His glasses are gone. His hair's calm, nice. So his appearance has changed somewhat.
Not drastically enough that he shouldn't recognize him.
No one knew who Superman was when he put on the glasses.
This is Clark Kent.
This is Clark Kent in reverse. He takes the glasses off, and he's like,
Sung-woo is just really bad at recognizing people.
Also, I think here's the thing. I am not arguing that is accurate, but I'm just saying, in his defense, his appearance, and to tell the people who aren't following along with pictures, his appearance
to be, though. That's the whole premise of this podcast.
It's quite true. His appearance has, shame on all of you, his appearance has changed quite a bit. I recognized him, but, I know there's only 2 characters in this story, so
there are only 2
that's
important
not
people
fair.
here.
That's not fair.
So, he doesn't recognize Jae-young, and he orders the most expensive meal, which, like, I get doing, actually, because as someone who also looks at menus at places that they've never been and gets the freezing of, like, oh god, there's too much shit to choose from.
Yeah.
I understand this, actually. I was going to give him shit about it, but honestly, I get it. Like, who hasn't accidentally ordered the wrong thing because choice paralysis is real.
Yeah. You know what gets me choice paralysis every time, and it's because I'm never prepared for it, and I always should be. The menu's set down in front of you. You open it, and you start looking at the food. They come over and ask you what you'd like to drink. The drink is always the first thing, and I'm always, like, looking at the steaks, and, like, my brain's just like, oh, what? Water? Question. Like, I'm asking the waiter if water's what I want. Yeah, I always get it, because the question just comes out of nowhere, but it doesn't. But it comes out, and I'm just like, I don't know what I want. I always know what I want to eat, because I'm so embarrassed by my inability to choose a drink when they come back. I have my meal down to the exact thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I was gonna give him shit, but this is actually a relatable moment for Song-woo of, yeah, I have also fucked up my order at places.
Yeah.
So he takes the order, and then she asks if they get discounts for students. And yeah, Jae-young is very sweet here. He talks to her for just a second. The chick's name I keep forgetting.
Oh, I have that. Kim, right?
It might be.
Yeah, I think it's Kim. We're going to call her Kim until we have a reason not to.
Yeah. So she's a French she's a French major. This just meet cute shit. So he's nice to her, and he keeps giving Sung-woo like these fucking glares and nasty faces. And Sung-woo's just like, "Are you done? Don't you have to go work?"
Yeah, like take our order
and leave.
Yeah. Which, by the way, ladies or fellas, if you're in a restaurant with someone who's that rude to the waiter,
leave.
Find a way out.
Yeah.
It will not end like this.
Nope. This is not.
This is bad behavior.
Yes.
Yeah. And Sang-woo's not doing it to be a dick to Jae-young. He still doesn't know who Jae-young is. This is how he treats waiters. So, yeah. Wait staff. If you see someone treat wait staff like that and you're not reading a comic, you should get out of there.
Well, and also, Jae-young says, "Good to know you haven't changed." I don't think that Sung-woo is necessarily trying to be rude in this particular instance, but he has certain notions of how these interactions are supposed to go, and they've ordered their food, and he would like
it's weird
Jae-young
he's still
to leave
there.
now.
Yeah,
it's
super weird he's still there.
He's not. I don't actually think Sung-woo is trying to be nasty here, but I don't think he understands how to interact with people off of a script.
That's also very possible. Yeah.
So yeah. For most people though, if they treat wait staff like this, fucking get out, because they're not worth the time that you're spending talking to them.
Yeah.
No one should be rude to waiters. They already don't get paid enough. Fucking don't be nasty.
Preach on.
So anyways, she asks Sung-woo if he's mad or offended or anything, and he's like, nah. He doesn't know how to interact with people. Yeah. Sung-woo is terrible. And Jae-young keeps giving him the evil eye. And he's like, I don't think that waiter likes me. And he doesn't. You're right. He finally figures out how to read somebody.
And she asked, "Do you think you could win if you two got in a fight?" And I was just wondering, is this the kind of lady who, tries to egg guys on to fight other guys for him? Because, by the way, if you're in a restaurant and the guy or girl you're with starts asking if you could beat up different people in said restaurant, you should also probably get out of the restaurant. That is a bad sign as well.
So Jae-young brings out the food.
Finally.
And he turns to Sung-woo and I was just gonna let it slide because you're obviously not right in the head. Yeah. But the more I think about it, the more it pisses me off. And he asks what he's doing here, and the Sung-woo's like, "Do I know you?"
Yeah. Boom.
And I honestly think that the next parts of these things that happen is just Jae-young trying to protect his fucking ego.
Yeah.
So he puts on the glasses, and Sung-woo's like, "Oh, he gets his fucking name wrong too.
Yeah.
Young Jae Kim or whatever." And Jae-young is like, I never wanted to see you again, and yet now you're here in my face. So he calls him bro, and Sung-woo's just like, "I don't have a brother." So he asks if there's anything he hates. And Sung-woo is just...
Never give an enemy information like this. What the fuck are you doing? This guy obviously hates you and he starts asking personal questions. You either lie or don't tell him. Come on, rookie. But again, Sung-woo doesn't know how people do people things.
Well,
so he doesn't recognize this obvious trap.
You shouldn't give your enemies information. This is sound advice, just for everyone out there who's getting ready to become a supervillain.
Who's getting ready to give their enemy information.
Yeah, don't give your enemy information. Huh. But he asks Sung-woo what colors he hates, and he hates the color red, what animals he hates, what food he hates.
Yep.
Places he hates. But yeah, and Sung-woo is just handing over. He hates people, he hates pasta, he hates anything within a 10-foot radius of Jae-young.
Burn.
Yeah. And Jae-young's like, "I was going to let it slide because you don't seem normal. But I've changed my mind. I hope you're looking forward to next semester." And Sung-woo is just like, "I'll be ready to call the cops if you bother me," or whatever. And Jae-young's reply is, "You lack imagination." And look, That is the sexiest line I have ever seen anywhere. I don't even care. Like, I am here for all of the mental gymnastics that are getting ready to happen that I've used to validate this particular comic because it's hot. I love it.
You lack imagination. Terrifying. It's a terrifying line.
It's fucking sexy.
Especially when a dude's twice as wide as you and you're seated and he's standing.
And then he walks away. Like, he's like, you lack imagination. And then he leaves. And the poor girl's like, you guys seem like you're close.
He's like, no, not at all. Like, yeah, obviously.
Yeah. So, it makes sense because you didn't know his name. It isn't Young Jae, it's Jae Young. And he's in the theater club. Like, he's pretty popular at school
Yes,
and everything.
everyone loves him.
Except for Sungwoo.
Yes.
So, he gets his class schedule. He's getting ready to go. But he's sure he'll never run into Jae Young again. Like, it's all fine. It'll be alright.
Yes.
So, Sungwoo has a very strict routine, as expected from this dude. So, he gets up, he does a little run, he comes home, brushes his teeth after he gets a shower, heads out, same time, sits in the same spot. Like, he's very... Look, neither one of us are psychologists, but this is slightly unusual behavior. He's at least OCD. Like, it is very...
he always sits in the same seat in class.
Yes, same spot. Like, it's a very... He sits in the rightmost seat in the fourth row.
Here's the thing. I do that too, but the way he reacts when he can't do it shows that there's something worse going on there than a normal mind. Normal, in quotations.
Yes. Typical. Neurotypical is what we call that.
Neurotypical is the,
because but so he goes to his class and he realizes that someone stole his seat.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, I'll just ask them to switch when they get here. So
now, just to be clear, you, the reader, already know what's happening.
Yeah. If you aren't aware of who's going to be sitting in the seat, then, foreshadowing is not your forte. So Jae Young is late, and he's just like, okay, well, I'll just move the bag. Like, he's straight up just about to mess with everything.
Yep.
And then here comes someone with a red cola can and a red beanie and a red puffy jacket. Like, he went all out.
He says he hates red, and this dude dresses like the cartoon representation of a color. Like, if you were teaching about the color red on Sesame Street, this is the outfit you would wear.
Yes, it is. Like, and
Jae Young, a.k.a. Red.
Red, so red.
Yeah.
And Jae Young's he stole his spot. He's borrowed all kinds of... And here's the thing. To me, this is fucking hilarious. If Sungwoo wasn't so easy to bother... Yeah. Like... This comic wouldn't be funny.
Who's the freak now? A fair question. Because it seems like a two-way tie to me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, the next couple pages are just... Jae Young went out with his friends, and I think this is the first time he saw Sungwoo.
Yeah, he's talking about how he ruined, like, a party that they were celebrating at just by existing.
Yeah, well, he doesn't want to drink, and everyone's drinking, and... I think this is
is a cultural thing because it's also true in Japan that if a superior of yours, either in age or station, asks you to drink, you drink. Yeah. No is not an acceptable answer.
And Sangwoo says no.
Yeah, which again, respect.
Yeah, and so the person who was wanting Sangwoo to drink gets upset, and he calls the cops, or he's going to.
Ugh. Again, every time he calls the cops, I lose a little more respect for him.
Well, yes. A cab.
Yes.
But yeah, Sungwoo ends up interrupting the situation, which is, like, the fact that, to a certain extent, the fact that Sungwoo doesn't recognize Jae Young is a little insulting. Like, it's not like they were complete strangers. Maybe they weren't, like, super tight.
They weren't bosom buddies.
But you would think that if someone got hit for you, you might at least recognize their fucking face.
Yeah.
Sungwoo gets to escape because Jae Young interrupted the situation.
Yeah.
And Jae Young is reflecting that, like, he was totally unfazed. Like, he was going to call the cops and leave. Like, he was not at all bothered by
Why would he be? He was doing it and leaving.
And then, here's the thing. I like the fact that Jae Young is clearly attracted to Sungwoo prior. Like, he thinks he's got a pretty neck for a dude, and he likes his skin, and then Sung-woo asks him for money, thinking that he's someone else. And Jae-young's just gonna give him, like, whatever, this is not worth a fight, here's $1.
Yeah.
But
this is slowly starting to drive Jae-young crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Because not only does everyone know him, everyone likes him. And this person not only doesn't like him, he can't keep his face and his brain a millisecond past the time that he is out of his vision.
Yeah. The moment, it's no object permanence. There are people object permanence for Sung-woo. The moment you're not talking to him, you might as well not exist.
Yeah,
like,
this is really, I call it Chick-fil-A Sunday syndrome. And it's back when, I used to purvey the Chick-fil-A,
boycott Chick-fil-A.
Before I cared about abortions and gay people. No, actually, just before I knew about any of that shit. That Chick-fil-A was a weird Christian oligarchy. Before I knew any of that, the only time... Here's the thing, I didn't give them that much money, because the only day I wanted Chick-fil-A was Sunday. Because Sunday, they were closed. Sunday, I couldn't have it. Every other day of the week, I had no interest in eating Chick-fil-A. There's only one day of the week I wanted to eat Chick-fil-A. That was Sunday. This, like, Sang-woo is Jae-young's Chick-fil-A on Sunday.
Yeah.
Because not only can he not have him, he doesn't even know he exists.
Yeah.
So he's going to put an end to that by being just a monster.
Here's the thing, though. I honestly, for the most part...
I'm sorry, a monster of minor annoyance.
Yes. See, I love that. Like, honestly, mentally in my head, I am a very petty person. And this is the kind of revenge that I would get. Because no one gets hurt. Like, all he's going to do is become a thorn in Sang-woo's side. No one gets hurt. Like, there's no permanent actual damage done to anybody.
Yeah.
But he just wants Sang-woo to remember him at this point. So Jae-young is a very social butterfly type of person. He's in a lot of clubs. He does a lot of things. And he runs into Sang-woo a lot. He's doing reporting for the, like, school festival or whatever. And he tries to interview
For some
Sang-woo.
reason, he thinks Sang-woo's the guy to give him the beat on the street. He's like, hey, Sang-woo, you're the guy that knows what's hip. Answer some questions for the reporter. Ugh.
Yeah, it's Billy on the street, but the person Billy tries to interview is like, fuck off. Like, he is not interested.
Yeah, not at all. Why would he be?
So you get some more background for Jae-young. He was enrolled. He won a award for an international branding competition in Singapore. He was accepted into a master's program at a top design school in the United States. He has a good portfolio. Like, he's really talented, in all honesty. And then
you really get the impression it all comes very easily.
It does. Yeah. Jae-young is like, he's a fuckboy. Like, he's a straight, like, I love him, but he is somebody who is used to getting things easily.
Yeah.
Everyone who is in the class who got failed because of Sang-woo ended up coming to Jae-young and being like, hey, can you talk to this kid? Because out of everyone,
he's the one
he's
most
the popular
charismatic.
One. Yeah.
Mike could get through to him.
He's the only one that they think could even pretend to talk to the professor or the student. And the professor is amiable, being like, hey, look, I get it. I understand. But that student's not letting this go. So unless you can convince him, I'm going to have to fail you.
I wanted to ask about that. Is the student not letting it go? Because I imagine the student just said his piece and left. I kind of feel like the professor threw Sang-woo under the bus.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, I think the professor was pissed off he didn't come to his class, and it's like, I'm going to blame it on Sang-woo.
I don't know that
because Sang-woo said his piece and left. I can't imagine Sang-woo coming back in the next day and being like, now, professor, you didn't give that guy a second chance. Sang-woo had already forgotten.
I don't think Sang-woo had forgotten. I think Sang-woo would have went, because Sang-woo is so, like, rigid with the rules. I think if the professor had given them credit, he would have went to someone higher up than the professor and told
I
them.
prefer to think that the professor was spineless. It was like, Yeah, that Sang-woo guy. He's a real jerk. I would love to give you credit for completely disrespecting me and never showing up to my class. I want to.
I think the professor knows what his class is, though. It's supposed to be an easy credit. And even if he didn't, Jae-young is the kind of charismatic person where it would be like, I feel bad for failing you.
And
like,
Sang-woo might be the kind of guy that he hates. Yeah.
So,
graduation denied.
He gets denied his graduation.
Huzzah.
He runs into the lady who was supposed to be helping Sang-woo with the project, and then that's how we end up in this whole room.
Yes.
He doesn't... Jae-young can handle a lot of things, and he seems like he's pretty easygoing for the most part, but he does not take not being remembered well. And then when Sang-woo had just fucking jetted up out that room, he left his schedule behind.
Ugh.
So Jae-young had tried to talk to him. You basically get all of the stuff that it has happened, but from Jae-young's perspective. And kind of what got him to the point of like, alright, we're getting revenge now. You get to the restaurant, Jae-young's still upset about not being remembered. He doesn't like the total indifference. Like Sang-woo is just above him in this way, and I don't think Jae-young knows what to do with that.
Yeah.
So, he does all of the questions, and then that's how you get to where you are now, which is he's flinching and he's, like, moving and just fucking with Jae-young.
Yeah.
Or with Sang-woo. And he does it in a multitude of ways. So, the entire class, he basically is just a bother. And he does that for all of Sang-woo's classes, just running around being and Sang-woo, like, he has to switch to the other side of this. Like, it's all things that, like, for normal people probably wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
But because Sang-woo is who Sang-woo is.
He's always in a seat. He's always wearing red. He's always, like, just, like, making a distraction out of himself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And it just fucks with Sang-woo's poor little head. And I love it. Like, this whole bit, I laugh so much when I read it. Just, yeah. So, he goes, like, he even sits with him at lunch. And then, because Sang-woo has, like, a measurement for everything, he thinks that if he moves, then Jae-young will follow him. And if he stays put, nothing will happen.
Right.
So, he makes the choice that it's better to just stay. Well, Jae-young is popular. Yeah. So, wherever Jae-young is, there are tons of people.
Yeah.
So, his lunch is also ruined because his quiet, alone time becomes Jae-young being a bother beside him with everyone else also being a bother beside him.
Sang-woo literally doesn't understand. He's like, why would they all sit here? There's so many empty tables. Like, charisma, popularity, these are mysteries. Sang-woo.
I don't think he cares. Like, he's so genuinely uninterested in other people.
Yeah, it's just really funny. He's like, why would people sit next to this guy they like? None of this makes sense.
So, he goes to the convenience store.
To get his favorite coffee.
And it's gone.
Somebody bought all of it. Who could have done that? Who could have?
So, he settled for a random coffee, which he hates.
Yeah.
And he can't go through his usual walking path because someone blocked it. And they even filled the trash. Jae-young is so fucking thorough. Yeah. Like, and Sang-woo was so fucking predictable that, like,
he throws his can away in the same trash can every day.
Yes. And Sang-woo cannot deviate from his whole routine. And, like, all of these little tiny instances of, like, just needling you just enough to just fuck with you. And I love it. I live for this shit. This is the perfect level of petty. But yeah, so he goes to the library, and someone is taking his seat in the library. And there's his favorite coffee sitting right there.
Yeah.
And he's like, did I buy it? No. Is the owner around? No. Do I need it? Yes. And then it says property of Jae-young Jang. And I just, there he is again. Okay, but yeah. It's just a million little tiny things. And he goes away and he comes back with books on sex. And he's just sitting there, like, being annoying.
Yeah. And hovering with his big, broad shoulders.
So, yeah. His big, beautiful, broad shoulders. Sang-woo does accuse him of being a stalker.
Yeah. At this juncture, 100% fairly.
I mean, he did leave his shit laying around.
Yeah.
I feel no pity for people who leave their shit laying around.
That's insane talk, because that means that any person who accidentally leaves their purse in a restaurant is allowed to be stalked by whoever finds said purse. That's not accurate. That's bad.
It isn't.
Doesn't matter how dreamy or broad your shoulders are. That's a bad thing.
Don't leave your shit laying around.
No, also good advice. But that's almost, she shouldn't have worn that in that neighborhood. You are dreadfully close to that line, and I should be the one.
As someone who picks up other people's garbage at work entirely too often, I don't mean in a public place.
Fair.
But yeah, as someone who cleans up other people's messes, there's
the real truth. That this is not about stalkers. This is about you don't like cleaning up other people's messes.
No, and maybe I have taken a handful of things when I've cleaned up other people's messes that weren't mine because they left their shit laying around.
And maybe I used them to follow them home. Whatever.
I've never. Now, look, I maybe cyberstalk people on occasions, but we're not.
Hey, they shouldn't have left that stuff online.
It's true. But so yeah, Jae Young accuses him of being a stalker, Sung-woo accuses Jae Young of being a stalker, and Jae Young's like, I'm not stalking you, you're just incredibly predictable. And so he mentions, he talks to a handful of people who are like, hey, do you know this kid? And people are like, yeah, he does this all of the time, every single day.
Yeah.
And Jae Young's like, well, and Sung-woo's like, well, how did you get my schedule? And Jae Young hands him back the binder that he left when he ran away. And he's like, doing all this won't change anything, so why are you wasting your time? And Jae Young's like, you think I'm going through all this trouble for fun? Just think of it as an itch I've got to scratch. An itch? I love this. And so Sung-woo's like, well, how can I get you to stop? And Jae Young's like, I don't know, hadn't thought about it. Try buttering me up. Show some remorse.
This is exactly what it's like when Riddler tries to explain himself to the other Batman villains. He's like, why do you leave clues? He's like, it's just an itch I have to scratch. I have to do it. I can't control it.
And so Jae Young's like, well, I'm not going to apologize. I still didn't do anything wrong. Or Sung-woo's like, I'm not apologizing. I didn't do anything wrong. And Jae Young's like, well, then you just have to wait for me to get bored. I can be pretty fickle. And it's just... it's just funny to me. So he basically tells Jae Young off and is like, you're not bothering me. And he tells him to do his worst. And he's like, Jae Young's like, yeah, I got plenty of time on my hands thanks to you, so I'm gonna do that.
You freak.
I love it. And okay, so we're on page 173. Yeah. I like this panel. I like the side profiles.
Yeah.
And Angi, who did the art, I love their artwork. So Sung-woo is trying to figure out how he's gonna respond to the situation. He ends up deciding that Jae Young will get bored eventually, and there's a grace period for their classes. So Jae Young basically has 2 weeks to drop the classes that he knows he can't pass before. So Sung-woo's like, I'll
wait out the 2 weeks.
Wait out the 2 weeks,
and Jae Young will leave because he can't pass the classes, and then we get to a 16-bit graphics display, which I fucking love.
It's so cute. I love the little chibi. I also really enjoy the fact that Sung-woo dreams in video game sequences. Jae Young makes robot jokes about Sung-woo because he's so programmable and predictable and shit. But the fact that he even dreams in computer
makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it is just the funniest.
And they do a very Pokemon thing. A puffy red coat has appeared, like a Pikachu has appeared.
Do you want to attack or flee? And it's just So he had this dream in the middle of class, though. So Jae Young has fucked him up so much that he is falling asleep in class. And
uncool.
Yes. And then he woke up 14 minutes into class. He didn't get a handout. Jae Young has a handout but won't give it to him. So he makes a paper airplane and sends it into the front of the class, and you find out that Jae Young has drawn on his face a little mustache, and he can't get it off. And then he spends his entire class.
This is why you do not fall asleep near your enemies.
Sung-woo is not at all prepared.
No, he thinks he is. He's not
for this. It's just, So he calls Jae Young an error. But he's a semantic error.
We got our title.
Yep, which is an error that shows up no matter how confident you are that the entire code is flawless. Which I didn't know, so I learned a useless computer thing that I'll never use.
Yay.
So, yeah, he just continues to do this over and over again, and Song-woo was like, he can't even report him somewhere, because it's not a crime to wear red clothes or take your seat, or, be
Sign
jittery.
Sign up for classes that you're in, yeah.
Yeah, drawing on your face, like buying his coffee. His existence may be an annoyance, but it's not illegal. So, he's like, he's even worse than an error. He's a virus. And, yeah. Sung-woo tries to sneak away. And Jae-young catches up with him and is like, hey, Sung-woo, you getting annoyed yet? You brought this on yourself. And Sung-woo's, I didn't do anything. So he asks, Jae-young's like, all right, I got an idea. He's like, I think this is the part where he's like, oh yeah, he tells Sung-woo that, he wanted to be friends. Like, the thing that that's so fucking pretty. I love him. I love him so much. Mm-hmm. This little panel on, page 200. I love that panel.
It's very pretty.
He's like, he wanted to be friends. Humans, he's basically trying to explain to Sung-woo that people are emotional people, like, people need connections to people. And if he hadn't ignored him, he'd have let the project slide and whatever. And Sung-woo's like, well, then will you stop if I apologize? He's been fucking telling you that he'll stop if you apologize. Like, this is not groundbreaking. I don't... but yeah, Jae-young's like, I thought you were a coding prodigy. Or maybe you don't understand human emotions because you're a robot. It's like, if this was that easy to fix, do you think I would have done all of this? And yeah, he's really happy that he's getting... So, there is one class that Jae-young isn't interrupting, which is his French class, or not French class. Oh, yeah, the chick with the boxes is back.
GA. Not Kim.
Yeah. GA is back, and he doesn't recognize her either. So, it's not a Jae-young specific problem, it is just a Sung-woo problem.
Yeah.
So, this is the only class, though, that he gets a break from Jae-young. And Sung-woo is very happy about it. But he's also anxious, and he can't seem to stop worrying. And he recognizes Jae-young now. So Jae-young got his wish. Like, as far as this goes, Jae-young won. Like, he is recognizable in crowded situations.
In his bright red coat and red shirt that he has to wash every day because he has to wear it every day.
Well, the puffy coat doesn't,
Yeah.
That's on the outside. And he also sits at a full table with Jae-yi, and, like, he tells Jae-yi he's being bullied. Which, I mean, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Jae-young is stealing all of his drinks, and Jae-yi actually helps him come up with ways around most of these problems. Like,
yeah,
she tells him
which
how
he could have come up with if he hadn't let it get to him so much.
Yeah.
Like, she's not giving him, like, groundbreaking stuff. She's like, why don't you order the coffee yourself?
Yeah.
And he's like, whoa.
Well, honestly, I think he didn't ever think about it because he's gotten so used to his routine.
Yeah.
And if you don't, like, if you're someone who's used to doing things a certain way, maybe you don't consider, oh, I could have done this way and this wouldn't have been a problem.
Right.
So, that's the only... she tells him to pull up a board.
Oh, wait. There's one thing I wanted to bring up. Go back one more. Where she's talking about, no offense, but it sounds like OCD. My doctor said it's not quite a disorder. I just love that line. Like, not quite a disorder. And I'm like, how did your doctor decide? Maybe he should take another look.
Maybe you need a second opinion.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, you go.
Yeah, Jae-yi tells him to put a board up, and she just gives him a handful of ways he could deal with the problem.
Yeah, and he's even smiling at the end, which you do not see him do often in this comic.
Jae-young gives him the nickname Sang-chu, which is like a Korean word for lettuce, which is close to his name.
Yeah.
And he's like, he doesn't comprehend people. I really don't. But he recognizes Jae Young and runs away.
Yeah. Like a man.
And he keeps trying to run, and Jae Young follows him like a crazy person.
Yeah.
Let's see. He calls Jae his girlfriend, and Sung-woo says he doesn't have a girlfriend. So he asks Jae Young what her name is. And he says Jae Kim, and he's asked what her major in philosophy. He says her last name is Ryu, and she's a French major.
Now, I like this part because this is the first time we see Sang-woo give a shit about anyone except himself. Because he loses his shit on Jae Young at that point. He's like, dude, leave her out of it. Like, she's got nothing to do with this beef you've got with me. She is a nice person. Don't fuck. And I was like that was very not Sang-woo.
Yeah.
But she had just literally solved all his problems at lunch. Just about, and it kind of made him give a shit.
For half a second.
I liked it because these characters, like, it was hard to get behind either of these characters because they didn't show any, like, remorse or like caring about other people.
Yeah.
Like Jae Young, everyone liked him, but he didn't seem to generally care about anyone, like, unless you count the stalking. And, like, Sang-woo obviously didn't seem to have any connection with people. So when he was like, hey, don't fuck with her, I was like, all right, Sang-woo, like, you're starting to become a human a little. That's good. That's a good step.
It's the first tiny little toddle.
Tiny step towards what you need to do. Yeah.
But Jae Young hasn't been stalking her. They came into the restaurant. He's like, background check, you two came into the restaurant I work at, freak. I saw her student ID. Any normal person would remember her name. So,
this is my other favorite line.
Yeah. So, he's like, well, Jae Young's like, well, do you remember my name? And Sung-woo's like, efficient minds tend to delete worthless information.
That is such a good line. That's when I fell in love. I was like, Sang-woo, you're my guy. You're my guy.
So Jae Young's like, all right, tell you what, if you can, starting tomorrow, I'll leave you alone if you can make up an acrostic poem with the syllables of my name. And he tells Sung-woo, you know, I'll leave you however alone you want me to, and you have to actually put effort into it.
Yeah.
So Sung-woo tries to make a poem. This chibi of him with the umbrella was almost a tattoo. When I was trying to decide what I wanted to do for my tattoo, I almost got the little umbrella.
Yes, it's
chibi.
starting to rain. And
Sung-woo makes up a half shitty little poem, and Jae Young gives him a little bit of a grade on it.
Yeah.
And he gets, for the most part, he gets a 24 out of 50. So he's like, not leaving you alone, that's not passing.
Yeah.
He's like, I think I'm getting the hang of operating you. And Sung-woo's like, what am I, some sort of an appliance? And Jae Young's like, yeah, pretty much. That's what this is.
It's fair.
And honestly, yeah, it is pretty fair. Like,
yeah.
Jae Young is reflecting again, and he's like, he only really meant to bug him a little, but, and so getting the upperclassmen to lend me their bags was a hassle. Like, he like recruited a whole bunch of people into this whole mess, and he hates the coffee, and the library's too quiet, and he hates the cafeteria food, and he's not having as much fun with it as he thought he would. But he recognizes that Sung-woo gets along with girls, and he doesn't want Sung-woo to just hate him. He wants Sung-woo's attention.
Yeah. He's
so pretty. I love this panel, too.
Well, Jae Young's kind of starting to realize that he's might have a problem. That this might be a little more than just a revenge scheme.
Yeah. You know. Yeah. He might have gotten in over his head just a little bit.
It happens.
You know.
Yeah. So, yeah, I actually like this a lot more than I thought I would. I think you have to be careful who you give it to, because it gives a lot of justification to be a stalker and not take no for an answer. And all the things that you were told not to do.
It's fictional. I've seen people have a lot of opinions on the internet about women consuming boy love just in general. Mm-hmm. But all of this shit is fake.
Yeah.
I 100% would not condone doing this to anyone in real life.
Yeah.
Like, this is not healthy. This is not how relationships should start.
I think I said this on another podcast, but, like, in video games. If it's a series of ones and zeros, I don't feel as bad about
No.
the horrible things that my character does or that is done to my character.
But I enjoy, I love this particular manhwa. And it's, again, I mean, I've got a tattoo of it. It's definitely not...
Did you know these two were, gonna eventually hook up? Did you know that? I think they are. I really do.
Yeah. You think so?
I got a hunch.
Just the notion. All right, so... Your big question.
My big question. All right.
What is your favorite act of petty revenge that you've either done to someone else or had done to you?
Oh, my God.
All right. Now, I will go ahead and give you my answer and give you a minute to think
Thank you.
yours over. And I am going to go ahead and own up to the fact that I'm banking on my mama never listening to this for this particular story.
That's fair, because the first one I thought of, I also know that the person's a listener, so I unthought of it. So now I have to think of a different one.
Yeah, I'm banking on my mama never listening.
Yeah.
All right. So... Go back to 1995,
Back in
1997.
1995.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, there was a certain point that my mother had promised me that she was going to quit smoking. Right.
Okay.
Now, when I was little, my bedroom was right by the front porch, and on the front porch there's a swing. Mm-hmm. And my mother used to sit out there when she thought I was sleeping. And she would smoke after she promised me she'd quit.
What?
So, I don't know what I was doing. I might have been going through shit I didn't have any business going through. But I found where she hid her cigarettes in her work bag. And on occasion, I would take cigarettes out of said work bag and flush them or throw them away. Because I knew she wasn't going to say anything about them being missing.
Yeah.
Because she would have to cop to the fact that she'd lied.
Oh, man.
So, yeah. I have always been a petty bitch. I will always be a petty bitch. And don't ever let me catch you lying to me.
Fair enough. You've been warned. This podcast fully supports petty revenge.
Here's the thing. Mentally, I'm fully on board with petty revenge. Because, you gotta do what you gotta do to feel better about things.
Oh, I'm not proud of this one. But, I have, I have mailed underwear to an ex that I said she left at my house that I knew damn well was not hers. And I'd like to apologize for that now if she ever listens to this.
I don't apologize for throwing away the cigarettes.
That was actually yours is much more noble than mine. I was a young, foolish man then, though.
I don't know if noble is exactly...
Ironically, I did it again later by accident, but the first time when I did it intentionally, I was like 22. I was young and cruel. Not young enough to justify it, but I then did it again like 10 years later by accident. That one I felt really bad about because that person I actually got along swimmingly with. Anyway, so that's it's good. It's fine. Glad I brought that up on the podcast.
Oh,
it's great.
Could have went with a different story.
I had no different story. Actually, I did, but again, the other one, people who listen might have heard. So instead, I told you about. Although the second one wasn't petty revenge, it was an accident, so it doesn't count. I told you
one count of petty revenge,
one of very petty
accident.
revenge, and one sincere accident. Oh, so yeah, that was part one of Semantic Error. However many parts there are, we'll eventually hit them all.
That's right.
But next week, we're going back into the Reno-verse, and me and Cecilia are going to tackle the Superior Spiderman, Volume 1 of the graphic novel collection. And this is our first foray into Spider-Man, who I love. Spider-Man was the first comic I ever owned was a Spider-Man comic. Big fan, even now.
Oh, yeah.
You never forget your first. And so I thought it'd been too long since we had we've started this podcast and not done Spider-Man. So we're remedying that next week. Superior Spider-Man, Volume 1. prepare to be amazed, disgusted, and everything else. In the meantime,
Definitely disgusted.
Yeah, there's some sick shit in there. But yeah, in the meantime, listen to other episodes of Comic Digestion and Comic Dissection.
We will be rebranding
and the other podcast that I play a part in, Judgmental Horror Junkie. And Top 3 Anything. Also, follow Reno V on Twitch. We stream every Sundays at 9 o'clock. And even Cecilia shows up on occasion. So,
yep.
It's good times. And, all the stupid stuff you're supposed to do with liking, subscribing, 5-star reviews.
We're on all the things now.
God, we're on all the things. Oh, Christ. But yeah. Oh, that felt horrible. I hate self-promotion. It feels gross.
It feels gross. You're
I hate
right.
it.
It's icky.
But,
bye-bye.
Deal with it. Bye.